Welcome back to the ELT Week Peru 2026. We are reaching the end of the fantastic week, and we'd love to know how are you, how you're feeling. So please, in one word, I invite you to leave in the chat how has ELT Week been for you so far. Hello, teachers from Cuba, from Mexico, from Urubamba in Cusco. So please leave your comments. How are you feeling today, this afternoon? So while we receive your answers, I'd like to remember you to stay with us until the end of the final session, as we will post a link to a survey for you to answer and register your participation. Also, let me remind you about our safeguarding standards. Our goal in this ELT week is to enrich your teaching practice and provide tools for the betterment of the education in your context. So please note that harmful, violent, or inappropriate comments will not be tolerated, and you can report any concerns through the QR code we are showing now on screen. Now, let me introduce our first speaker of this afternoon, Dr. Jimmy Riojas Rivera. He is a Peruvian educational researcher and university professor, recognized by CONCITEC as a Renacit researcher, which is Peru's highest national distinction for scientific excellence. He holds a PhD in education and has served as a faculty professor at 4 renowned Peruvian universities. His research focuses on the integration of artificial intelligence in English language teaching, with publications in Scopus Index journals, and has trained over 150 teachers in AI-assisted instructional design across Peru. So please join me in welcoming Jimmy.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is lovely to have you this afternoon. What am I here to discuss with you today is the truly transformative potential of reimagining English teaching with AI creative tools for learners' engagement. So imagine that about Maria, a brilliant university student whose dreams of a prestigious travel scholarship are overshadowed by her struggle in English communication. How can I tool transform that journey, turning frustration into confident participation and thoroughly engage the learner? Can you see that? So, well, this question bring us to the core of imagining. Let's go to the next, the before presentation, please. The question we have here, yes. This question brings us directly to the core of imagining English teaching with AI. Create the tools for learners' engagement. We are here to explore how can I transform that journey, turning frustration into confidence. Okay, teachers and all the audience. So I'm turning to you. Please share your thoughts in the comment or here, all right? Meanwhile, all right, thank you. Meanwhile, you are chatting on the chat. And the next slide is about how here we have, after the following discussion, let's step into a day in the class. This slide visualizes the blend what we see today, the traditional classroom alongside the students using creative AI tools. It prompts us to consider how to harmonize this thoroughly engagement for our learners. So now we're going to see a video with Sora.
English connects minds across the globe. Dear educators, when you teach English, you expand horizons. Give students the language.
So the AI revolution in English education perfectly demonstrates the transformative potential. This video now here shows how can I even bring us from like create a video with Shakespeare, why not with a celebrity, why not with Einstein to life, revolutionizing how we engage the learning. So as we consider the AI revolution, as we can see here, this slide clearly illustrates the ELT reality check. The prominent data indicate that significant challenge with 78% of teachers reported that burnout from administrative tasks, according to a Cambridge Assessment 2023 studies. Furthermore, the average prep time exceeds 16 hours per week, underscoring the urgent need for efficient solutions like AI. So, and here, this is the diverse learners' needs. This slide pivots how another key reason for AI. It illustrates how AI can help the address with wide range of the mix, proficiency levels, different learning styles, cultural background, and individual pace, ensure targeted personal engagement. So, and this slide highlights the significant AI opportunity that we have today. AI can directly address the challenges that we just discussed by potentially reducing prep time by 60%, increasing personalization, and crucially, freeing up time for human connection, right? So, okay, teachers, the audience, all the people who are in the streaming live, innovative, engaged, effective, and inspiring. Okay, are you ready for challenges with the AI strategies? You can write in the chat, let me know, or maybe you can write what about the question before. So, okay, all right, thank you. Wonderful. So here we have, and now let's explore an incredibly interactive tool, tldrop.com. tldrop.com promotes active engagement with sincere collaboration within the classroom. This slide also shows the activities that the students do in the class and the teacher, and also highlight it is practical, hands-on potential. Well, here I recommend, this is the tldrop.com, okay. And also for projects, I recommend you the tldrop computer. tldrop computer is more interactive for project management, for task-based learning, and also that is for projects. And here you can, how can you enjoy it? This has more resources. What is different with tldrop.com and what is different with tldrop computer? tldrop computer, you have a camera, okay, the teacher one yes, can see. You can upload a video. You can upload a link, and also they have more resources. If you want to set up a project, okay, it is you want to connect with other students, with other teachers, okay, background for different around the world. I recommend you to use tldrop computer. You can explore, and this is practical, right? Thank you. So now, what could you sketch today that becomes tomorrow interactive lesson? It is a perfect call action. It emphasizes the practical potential of tools like tldrop that motivates teachers to innovate, right? Thank you. And later, I write your comment. So here, this is another AI. So Jitmai can transform your lesson planning. You can highlight how teachers can enjoy creating innovative, as you can see, mind maps, dynamic diagrams with AI, making complex concepts and more engaged our students. So, right here. All right, yes. That flexibility is key. Yes, you can emphasize how Jitmai makes it accessible, allowing teachers to import, yes, you can import here context from various resources like, as you can see, this is a PDF, a link from the video, you can hear this is an image, you can write a prompt, or you can, maybe you want to provide your students as feedback from the audio, as I see when my students do at university, I provide feedback to my students that is the feed forward to reach the goal, what I need for the next unit. I recommend to use that, right? This is, right? So this slide, yes, this slide demonstrates the collaborative magic of Jitmai. Seamless and accessible, it is to share these mind maps Here, this is a mind maps. As you can see, when my students and colleagues point to the chair to the bottom, yes, here is, you can share. Here, this is the, here is the bottom, and also you can share. Here is on my right. This is the QR code, and it is accessible. If you want to get information, you can screen with your cell phone, and here is the QR code, right? Great. And at this, okay, fantastic. As this code emphasizes, technology can streamline resources, but it is the professional judgment, emotional intelligence, pedagogical intuition of teachers that truly transform education. This highlights the vital roles that teachers play in our classroom. Absolutely, definitely, it is right. Thank you so much for your joining on the comments about this quote, this question, and later we're going to rate, right? Fantastic. Okay. Well, moving from the test-giving approach, let's explore how to use making AI for ELT, embracing a visual driving approach for language production, right? I love that, this making AI. So look, okay, so here, okay, this is how to use making AI. Fantastic, all right. Look, it is easy, yes, all right. So the next, you have to, okay, let's go to the next presentation. Fantastic. Here, we have to sign in with Google, right? So we have to sign in with Google. You don't have to not complicate with the setup. In a second, you are inside the platform. So I invite you, you try it, you want to try it today. Okay. First of all, before we're going to log in, okay, you have to log in on making AI. Here it is. Fantastic. Yes, we have to log in, we have to sign in with your Google account and explore. I invite you to explore. So use in a second you have you have all the resources. You have to experiment and image how to this you can transform your next English lesson in the class, right? Only you have to go to get to making AI free, and you have to click here. You have to sign in with your Google, and then, right, and the next presentation here. Okay, getting started with AI is simple. Okay, you come here on the next slide. You can see, fantastic. You have your PDF, you have your article, maybe you have your reading comprehension. So what is you are going to do? Okay, you have to paste the text. You have to paste the text here. You have to describe, and you have to describe the ideas or even important file to generate. This is more visual. Yes, my map, or maybe an infographic, etc. Right? So here, as you can see in the next slide, we're going to display, there is a summary. Okay, this is, for example, this is my article. So displays a summary diagram that's created by making AI. Highlighting that maybe this is my article, this is in Scopus. Yeah, right, this is the strength of ChatGPT, the weakness of how to use the ChatGPT, and how we're going to motivate and engage our students. That is a proficiency improvement and recommendation with AI in language education, right? Okay, so the next slide here. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. Okay, right here, as we can see, AI impacts on education. Yes, it is featured as colorful. You can see a colorful brain. The graph is surrounded by interconnected concepts, natural language processing, machine learning, chatbots, research gaps, intelligent learning system, and neural networks, right? Great. And here, this is AI language education, presenting a pros. We can see a pros and a cons comparison. The pros like increasing motivation and enhanced engagement on the left, and on the cons, such as no significant core improvement and pronunciation challenges are on the right. Right? Yeah, that's some examples that you can do with making AI. Now, right, I would like to introduce one of the most powerful tools that I currently use with teachers and researchers. Notebook, yes, NotebookLM by Google. Yeah, this is not just another AI chat box. Yes, This is what makes it different, is that it's work with my own sources. Yeah, I use this every day in my class. Yes, why? And next, we're going how to use that. This is easy. Yeah, this is fantastic, right? Yes, I use that for teaching English, for research. My students, when I teach thesis, when I teach methodology for research. Let me quickly how you use Easy and get started. First, you go to the website. Here, this is notebook.google. All right, here it is. And next, you will see the button. Yes, here you can see, you can join, you can try. Here it is. And you have to click here. Yes, and you have to click here. As you see, yes, it's simple. Only you have to log in with your Google account, maybe institutional, your personal account, as I see, right? And next, this is only one. Yeah. Now it comes to the most powerful part. This is the most powerful part. Yeah, right. Inside the NotebookLM, you can upload. Yeah, as you can see, you can upload your own materials. What you can see? PDF articles, research papers, course reading, or even your class note, maybe, right? For example, I can upload a research article in my class when I teach with my students, or a PDF or a video. Yes. Once the document is inside the system, here it is. I can, okay, it could be that I can summarize the article, answer the question here. Maybe you can see this is a presentation. You can have a presentation for the PDF. You can have a summary from the video. Before we started the class, this is a summary for the video. That is an infography. That is a new resources. Yeah, right. That is an audio. And also I can use that for provide feedback to my students. Yes, when I want to reach the goals. Yeah, great. So fantastic. And well, for English for ELT, I love this this platform. Yes, this is a live show that ThinkLink. Yeah, that is a ThinkLink platform, which yes, you can interact by creating that is an immersive experience. Students can interact by exploring interactive tasks with virtual classroom. It's like a museum, as we can see. You remember in the pandemic, yes, ThinkLink. You can you can work with Minecraft. My students yes love Minecraft. Minecraft you can insert in this platform in the ThinkLink, right? Great. Yeah, it is the you can get started. You can log in with your email account or maybe with your institutional account, and then here I'm going to show you. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, okay. And here, yeah, this is my classroom. Yes, this is my classroom, all right? This is my classroom. Here, okay, my students can interact, can explore. That is very interactive. Yeah, right. This is in virtual classroom. Yeah, this is my classroom. All right. This is like a museum. My students, they can, as we can see, there is some icon. You can scan, and this is free. Yeah, all right. So here, yes, you can click on the icon. There is different icons that you can see. That is one icon is for reading comprehension, one is for assessment, one is the dashboard for assessments. Yeah, all right. And the other that is for the library. Yes, and also we have the laboratory. Yes, this is for pronunciation. And I have a lot of resources. And also we have I invite you to this platform. Yeah. Link is it. All right. Great. Fantastic. Well, now here it is. And the next, yeah, I'm going to show you another here. I don't know if you are explore the AI, all right? So, well, before we finish, Perhaps we must start learning traditional, yes, teacher-centered methods to embrace more personalized and interactive learning environments. Also, well, I'm learning maybe we have to assess or how to measure a student to a potential dynamic classroom. So here, is this to the classroom of 23? What must we start learning today? Yeah, all right. I see that all the teacher before, yes, that we have to do about for assessment, for technology, experience, projects, right? But well, yeah, all right. So here is here is the presentation. Yeah, I would like to say thank you so much for your listening. Or you want to contact me, that is my LinkedIn. You are interested in publish article. Maybe you want to be a Renasit considered by Consited. You can contact me. Yes, every year I always publish my research for ELT or methodologies. Well, Giselle, I don't know, you're in the floor. Maybe I look at that question for teachers.
Yes, thank you. First of all, thank you, Jimmy, for this presentation that it was full of useful AI tools you've shared with us, and probably we didn't expect there were many very interesting ones. So now it's time to take a few questions from the audience. If anyone has one question, please write in the chat and I will read them out. And I have a question, Jimmy, from all the AI tools that you presented, and probably there are teachers that are just starting familiarizing with the AI tools. So what would be a simple way, let's say, to begin using AI? Which AI tool do you suggest to start with?
Well, I recommend, for example, if I have my presentation, yeah, this is a lot of text, I recommend to use Making AI. Making AI is more visual. Yes, they have a lot of resources for Making AI. We have a diagram, we have more visual, this is more colorful. This is on for image. I recommend to use that. Yeah, all right. Previous, we have to teach for reading comprehension, yeah, before. And yes, that is all the presentation. This is for image. And well, if I want to, if I want to wrap up or I want to close my lesson plan, another resource that I recommend to use is Power. Yes, the potential of NotebookLM. Yeah, this is from Google. So you can enjoy that. You can have a infography. Yes, it's creating an infography for all your class. This is how to summarize all your class with NotebookLM. Okay? And also you have a video. Right? In my case, when I want to provide feedback to my students, I use NotebookLM because that is providing feedback. I use the strategies for feed forward, or before. Yes, this is that feedback, the feed up, and the feed forward. Yeah, I use for notebook. I want to see, yes, that is one resource I recommend for use AI. That is for videos. Also, Gemini. Yeah, I recommend when you want to create maybe some image for your presentation or to PowerPoint. I use Gemini. Gemini have the free for that Nano Banana. All right. Yes. Right. So you can you can go to ChatGPT before. Yes. Give me the prompt. Yes. Give me the prompt to create an environment. Yes. Here it is. Give me the prompt, and next I go to Gemini, and Gemini, yes, create your image. But I like I like another AI that I don't share. Yeah, I don't share because I think that we have our time. Yes, all right. I recommend Suno. Also, yes, all right, yes. I recommend Suno. Suno AI, that is for music. Yes, how my students learn with music. Yes, all right. Learn for music, not only for English, for methodology. When I want to teach search for my thesis, I create with Suno the music, and with cumbia, with rock, with reggaeton, and my students they enjoy it. They love the music. Yes, you see, yeah. You can use Suno. Suno,
Sorry,
this is great.
Jimmy, sorry. And how do you spell Suno?
Suno. Yes. Suno. Suno. Yeah. All right. Yes. That is a great presentation. But if you want to export, okay, Giselle or all the audience, if you, all the teacher, you want to export, you can export only with MP3 player. That is only for listening. You can yeah. You have to pay it. But with Suno, there is another AI that is productive AI. Productive AI, there is a new platform. There is a new AI that creates music and is totally free. You can download the video, you can download the PDF in MP4, and this is new. And now I'm using productive AI. Productive AI, all right. You give the prompt. I remember that last week when my students at university say, teacher, they are teacher. Yeah, they are teacher. They teach primary teacher, kinder teacher, that is for secondary teacher. I say, teacher, I started my classes, but I don't know how to engage my student in the class. Okay, let's go to productive. Okay, there is an art teacher. He teach music. And teacher, how I'm going to see? Okay, we're going to go to productive AI, and that is the video. And you have a different style, yeah, different range, and you choose what is the best for your students. Teacher, it is too long. Okay, you can short in the platform. Yeah, right. So that is how to engage our students. That is Suno, but now I recommend you product AI, that you can create a video clip with your student, like yeah, all right. I recommend that both for AI that you want to engage your students with music. Fantastic.
Great, Jimmy. And there are some teachers that already use Suno, so it's quite interesting. No, yes.
I see Katya. Yes, Katya is a yes. Katya, yeah. You say I use Suno to Katya, but you see, Suno we have to pay now. Yes, now we have to pay. We have to subscribe. And Katya, I recommend to use productive AI. Explore productive AI. This is more powerful, and you don't have to pay. You can download the video, you can download the PDF, the MP3 player, you can download the MP4. You have more resources. Explore, Clara, Katia, and Sarah Luciana. Yeah. Explore productive AI. There is a new platform that you can create video clips. Imagine you are in a video clip and you see that is so amazing, so crazy. All right. Yeah, all right. Yeah, I see that. Okay, yeah, Lina. Okay, yeah, that is a wonderful idea. Yeah, all right, I can see. And Lina said, can you share the link, please? Yeah, in a while, I go to my, and here, right, and I go to the link that is productive AI. Yeah, it is simple. It's very easy. As we know, Giselle, yeah, teacher
Yes.
explore. Maybe there is no easy. Yeah, there is no easy. Maybe we have some struggle, as we see. But little we can be confident. How to use this? Or maybe we have to watch some tutorials on YouTube. How to use that platform, and then I explore. That is a good thing. Yeah, thank you.
Jimmy, and can you tell us which AI tools are free to use?
Sorry, Giselle, can you please repeat the
Yes.
question, please?
Could you tell us which AI tools are free to use right now?
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. No, for free, it's not necessary to pay. Yeah. Well, I use Gemini. Yeah, Gemini is a good platform. You can Gemini. I design with Banana. It is free. This is with my Google account. It creates here image. It's fantastic. Another for free that I use. Well, it is for free that I use another AI. You use for pronunciation. It's Google Studio. Google Studio AI. When I want my students, they have to improve their pronunciation. That's right. I here I use Google Studio. Well, Google Studio for AI. This is when I want to. I had problem with some software, yeah, because I am statistical for my research, and I have some problem. Yeah, Google AI can help me. Google AI Studio. I share my screen and I talk. I talk with Google Studio. Yeah, this is one. Well, another one I have in my phone. Yeah, this is a Gemini. Yeah, Gemini I use and this is free. Here, okay. Here I have, and also I can upload, I can create an image, music, and this is free. Yeah, and I talk. Please, can you say welcome to the audience of my ELT 2026 in Peru? All right, this is Prafo, and I taught when, yeah, here, all right. So, yeah, all right. Here, maybe this is yeah, I talk with my phone. Well, probably this is with my earphones, but I thought with my ear. Yeah, this is free when I want to set up maybe in a class, how to start my class, my conference. I have to travel, etc., etc. And this is free. Yeah, this is my assistant. Okay. Yeah, this is so crazy. My
We
gosh.
have a question from the audience. What interactive app? What would be an interactive app for teens? Which one could you recommend?
Yeah. For teams, for ELT, I recommend ThinkLink. ThinkLink, yeah, ThinkLink, they have a lot of resources. ThinkLink, yeah, that is like a museum. Yeah, it's like a museum. Yeah, it's like a museum. My students love Minecraft. My students love at university. Yeah, all right. And also, if you can insert Minecraft in ThinkLink, okay, you can create your classroom. It's like a museum. I don't know if I can share. Maybe if I can share my ThinkLink, that is my classroom. Yes, in my classroom, I create my laboratory. Yeah, here. Yeah, all right. It is. Yeah, I create my dashboard. I create here in my reading comprehensions, my library, all my class. This is my virtual classroom, and this is my students love that because why? Because they can listen, they can pronounce the words. Yes, you see, and also my students love that you can promote games. My student joins, and you see Minecraft. You see your student. You say you play Minecraft. Yes, of course I play Minecraft, and you can insert Minecraft in here in ThinkLink. In ThinkLink, it is free. My students, they can, if you want to explore, yes, the students, here it is. I don't know, you can see my screen. Yes. Here is my pronunciation. That is my students when they have to work in word, collaborative. Yeah, like this is for the collaborative work, they have to work a project. That is for the technology classroom. That is the final exam they have to take. That is the emotional. The most important is about the emotional. Yes. How can I interact with my students? Yeah, that is for emotional intelligence. Here we have the virtual library, and this is the reading comprehension. This is, and also we can incorporate this English platform for team with Minecraft. With Minecraft, yes, all right. This is your classroom. My students at university, just primary and kindergarten, yeah, all right. They create a classroom. Yes, how can they interact with that student? 14, this is a platform, and you tell another tool that is really powerful is a TL Draw. TL Draw computer. TL Draw computer. TL Draw computer, you can interact with your students. You can, your students, they have a camera, yes, they have a video, they have scene, they have link, and it's very easy to work with TL Draw computer. Why? Because you can work that with projects. You can, yeah, I work that with TL Draw when teachers from other countries, from other universities. Yes, we work on projects. Yes, and when the other teachers, when teachers from Peru, and also we have to set up a project. Yes, all right, and we have to promote collaborative work. That is that two platforms that teens love, that you can enjoy it. So, ThinkLink, and the other is TL Draw computer. Fantastic.
Great, Jimmy. And I would like to profound in something you mentioned seconds ago about emotional connection. So, how we can maintain emotional connection in an AI classroom?
Fantastic. Emotional connection with your students is when you want to interact with the students. Yeah, teacher with the students, and also in the class how you can promote interact. Yeah, how come the students they have to interact with their classmates, and also the students they have to be confident. As you see, that is the key that we can. How come my students or students in the class they feel more confident? Yeah, in class. Interaction is a good thing.
Okay, great. So even immersed in the AI world as Minecraft, they can still build the connections between them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Minecraft, yeah, you can create your lesson not only for ELT, with mathematics, with science, with art, with music. Yeah, all right. This is, and also that is for, I remember in the pandemic, and also in university. Yes, we can use that. Great.
Yes, and one final question from my side. I would like to ask you, how can teachers help students use AI responsibly while also developing their own critical thinking, no? And language skills?
That is a really big question. One is to be critical. Is when I want my students use AI and also to be critical. Okay, I give my students a problem and they have to give me a solution. Yeah, they have to give me a solution. All right. Yeah. So the students they have to create. Yeah, maybe I use the design thinking method in my class. Yes, my students identify the problems. Yes, they identify the problems, right? And they have to work in groups. Yeah, they have to read ideas. All the ideas are good. There are not bad ideas. All the ideas are good. And then they are going to select what is the most idea that can solve the problem. Okay, and this idea, how they are going to solve the problem. Maybe they are going to record a video. Maybe they are going to, a report, an infography, maps, a poster, okay? And finally, they are going to test how this prototype, face that problem. Okay? And they're going to reflect, and they're going to give a solution. So that is the way how my students or teacher promote to be critical thinking, right, in the class. And the other question is about the ethical, how to use the ethical. We have to promote the values, and we have to know my students, they are responsible what they are doing with AI. Okay? My students, they have to be conscious about their tasks, okay? And also we have to promote the values, and also it's about the creativity. The creativity, how to use AI well. Thank you.
No, thank you, Jimmy, for your thoughtful answers. If there are no more questions from the audience, I think it's time to say goodbye for now. And that brings us to the end of this session. Teachers and teacher educators, thank you for being there and your active participation. You, Jimmy, you are receiving many thank yous, and thank you from my part as well. Now it's time for a break, and remember the final session comes at 5 p.m. So see you shortly. So thank you, and see you in a few minutes. Thank you, Jimmy.
Bye.
Bye.
Good afternoon, everyone, again. Thank you very much for staying in touch and for staying throughout the afternoon. Sadly, this is our last session. I know you've been an exceptional audience and that you have engaged in every single session this week. If you missed any sessions, please remember that all sessions are recorded in our YouTube channel. Just have to go to YouTube and go to British Council Peru. And you can catch up with any session that you wanted to be at, but you missed, sadly. So welcome back again. To close this week, we're going to welcome our dear friend Sylvia Breitberg. She's an educational leader who joins us from Argentina. She has extensive experience in primary and secondary teaching. She also has experience in management and teachers training, obviously. She holds a degree in law and education in applied educational leadership and management from the University of London, and also a PG diploma. As president of Argentina TESOL, that's very important, she promotes sustainable, generationally responsive leadership and empowers teachers through action research. A dynamic international speaker and coach, as you will see, Sylvia focuses on reimagining education for emerging generative AI mediated learning environments in both general education and TESOL. It is my pleasure to welcome Sylvia for our last session.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this last session. Thank you so much, British Council Peru, for this invitation to share my passion with you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whenever you're watching this, I'm sure that it will be worth your time. So without further ado, let me move on and start sharing my slides. I hope that everybody can see them. Just give me an okay in the chat box, and I will move on. So today we will be weaving the old, the new, the borrowed, and the due. And we will be really talking about the new way of seeing education and the great call that we have regarding this. But this is a great time for you and for shout out louds. So I would like you to use the chat box to tell me a little bit about you. Where in the world do you live? And where in the world do you teach? So please use the chat box to tell me a little bit about you. Okay, let's see. Welcome, Lima, Peru. Lovely city in a lovely country. So we have more people coming from all over Latin America. Hello, everyone. And as I can imagine, as I see all the different places you are from, Cusco, what a great place to teach. Definitely, there you do have to weave the old, the new, the borrowed, and the due. So I'll remember that when I talk to you this time. Arequipa, hello, Arequipa. So welcome to this session. And Piura, well, great to read you all there. So as I continue reading you, let me move on a little bit with this talk. This is my plan. First of all, identify the context and the new generational traits and what they need in this Gen AI mediated era. We will be discussing what is it that works in our sessions and in our lessons. Like we will be weaving the old, the new, the borrowed, and the due. And of course, I will be sharing strategies right from the classroom because I am there. I face the emergencies as well every single day. So how can we keep learning relevant when apparently nothing makes sense? And the idea is like helping you understand the hidden lines behind what you see, okay? And of course, I am very ready for your questions, and I will really try to give you all my answers. All right, now this is another great question for your chat, for the chat box. When you first heard the name generative artificial intelligence, what came to your minds? For instance, when you heard ChatGPT or generative artificial intelligence or LLMs, what came to your minds? New fashion, new problem, new solution? What came to your minds? Sometimes some friends of mine say that, well, some of them imagined trouble. Some of them imagined help. I'll tell you what came to my mind. This too shall pass. Because those of you who've been there for many years in the classroom know that fashions and tendencies and technology have like a great impact at the very beginning, but then they tend to disappear. But we know that things have not been the way perhaps we expected. So the idea is seeing how we can put together what we know and what we need to make our students succeed. And mind you, I am inviting you to think about this situation not as a problem, but as a great moment, because so far we have been trained as teachers to recreate knowledge. Knowledge was there in science of education, in books, in studies, and we had to recreate what others passed on to us. But this is a great time in which we are becoming the heroes of education, because we are creating what works, what doesn't, and what is next. So I invite you to continue seeing reality this way. So what do I mean with like recreating versus creating? Like so far we know that we have to deal with the language skills, major language skills, minor language skills, like listening, speaking, reading, and writing, the skills that we tend to teach and that come to our minds when we think of teaching a language. We know that about 2 decades ago, we started focusing on those skills that were needed, not just for the tests students had to pass, but for the tests of life. And we had to like combine teaching, listening, speaking, reading, and writing with a focus on communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and citizenship. Now, what's next? Definitely, what is next is interweaving all these with generative artificial intelligence. Don't worry, I'll be giving you ideas. So now that we have talked about this, how does this phrase, I'll give you a minute to think about it and to read it, how does this phrase resonate? If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So we have talked about what is happening. I will give you some whys, but above all, we will focus on the hows. How can I deal with that? So let's go for the old. Okay. Who agrees here? People resemble their times more than they resemble their parents. Do you agree on that? All right, this idea of changing to be better. Exactly. Carla is talking about the state of mind regarding the previous question, right? Great idea. Yes, this idea of, okay, we've been affected by our times. I'll give you some time now to read this generational definition of what a generation is. Mind you, this is like my anchor slide, and generations, or the idea of generations, is not new. People have talked about generations for more than 100 years, like referring to this very original concept by Carl Mannheim, a sociologist, who said that a group of individuals of similar ages who have been influenced by the major historical events of an era constitute a generation. And I want you to think about the word there that resonates with you. The idea of major historical events. Now, the idea of generation, I have to confess, was not very much accepted at the beginning of the 20th century. But at the turn of the century, especially in the US, people started talking about this concept again because they realized that they couldn't work well together. There was a change in the workforce. The different generations were there trying to make things work, and that wouldn't happen. So this is when another group of American sociologists started studying this concept of generation again, and they gave a new definition, which is the one that you can read. And I want you now to concentrate on it for a little while and to think about which part you would highlight. Which one makes a lot of sense to you? Which one resonates there? Okay. Right, Pedro, then we will talk about the cassettes and what happened with cassettes and what we learned while we were using cassettes, because this is part of the weaving that we need to make, understanding how we put together the lessons learned through technology in the past and what is happening today. Right, this idea of sharing time and space that gives them additionally, this is what Pedro is saying, this gives them additionally a sense of a collective persona, a shared ethos, a being with other that will, in a way, influence their choices. Okay, let me put it clearly for you. This is what a generation is. A generation is a pair of glasses. When we talk about generational filters, we talk about the glasses that we wear to understand reality. And these glasses are different depending on the generation that they belong to. The glasses are the feelings, the understandings, the perceptions through which we interact with reality and that we develop as we develop a personality, a generational personality that is collective and that appears or starts to appear at the end of primary, secondary, and early 20s. So let me move on a little bit with this idea. Tell me how this is resonating with you in the chat. Here we have a great generational spectrum chart in which we have, on the one hand, the generations. Let me tell you that baby boomers, you know that in social studies in general, dates do not tend to be fixed. But let's say that approximately baby boomers are said to have been born from 1945 up to 1964. 1964 up to the end of the 70s are the Gen Xers, my generation, the dark generation. The Gen Yers, or do you know that? The Gen Yers are millennials. Yes, the ones that were born after Generation X and that joined the workforce by the turn of the century. After them came the Gen Zers. The Gen Zers are the ones who were born by the turn by the turn of the century, right? They didn't start working. They didn't. The ones who started working by the turn of the century were the millennials. And Gen Zers are now your youngest colleagues, those students at university, the ones that will be writing the theory of education and the theory of ELT in the future or in the years to come. And last but not least, we have the alphas, the ones who have been born with Instagram, with TikTok, the ones who are now facing a world that for them can only be rewritten in a very different way from the way it was written for us. Okay, and what I have to tell you is that there is one more generation coming, that is Generation Beta, predicted to start by 2025 in the year 2005 by Mark McCrindle, an Australian sociologist who devotes his time to studying this phenomenon. And honestly, he sort of got it right, because if we think about historical events, things that change, perceptions, think about generative artificial intelligence and when it started to be used, and then you will have kind of a coincidence. So tell me if you're okay with this. Tell me a word in the chat box that resonates with you. And if it is okay, we will move on. Are we doing fine? How are we doing? Is the rhythm okay for you? Okay. I love to wear my generational glasses. Great. So let's see. This is fantastic. I don't know if you're familiar with the Eternauts. The Eternaut is a novel that deals with an alien attack, and there is someone who survives, and this person starts like surviving and helping other survivors just because he relies on things that work. And that meme, it's very popular online. Lo viejo funciona, Juan, is a phrase that the main character says to a friend of his who's also a survivor. Like, things that were analogic worked. And if we translate that to adapt that to our reality, from Spanish to English, what is funny is that we have two translations that apply equally well to what we do in the classroom. Lo viejo funciona, Juan, can be translated as old stuff, the material, works, but it can also be translated as the old ways, the ways in which we did things in the past also work. So here we are weaving the old and the new. So many of the things that we know how to do or we have been using still work, but perhaps, and this is what we need to know, they work for different reasons, right? Perhaps they don't work for the reason we believe they do work, but they work for some other reason and they still work. The good thing is understanding why they work so that we can vary on them and still have activities that can be applied creatively to our students in a way that is really student and teacher friendly. Okay, let me move on a little bit. In this way, we are becoming something like the ELT, right? We are using old things, old stuff, old ways that still work. So let's go now for the new. Are you okay? Are you ready for the new? Okay. So what do we mean by the new? What is new? Well, this is a little brain teaser. So I need you to use the chat box and to interact with me a little bit. I'll read you there. Let's see. There I introduced a new concept, a word that I have coined to explain the filters of the new cohorts of students, the new generations. And I'm having difficulty with the way in which I'm still undecided about how to pronounce it. maybe you can help me there. But there is something that I want to mark here, and I encoded it. Let's see if you can decode this. Yes, okay. So there, and what they are experiencing is clearly, okay, let's see if I see it there. What is BGAI and AGAI? Right, you got it. Before generative artificial intelligence and an after. This is a turning point in education. So how to approach this is our great challenge, but at the same time, it's our white page for us to rewrite the way in which we teach to educate our kids. So when we talk about emerging gens, we talk about kids that are visual, global, and digital. And as this image from the internet marks, their skills are very different from ours in many things. And I want you to think, and I need you again to participate in the chat box. So get ready for this. I want you to think of a traditional telephone conversation, an analogic conversation with a landline. What did we learn? And when I say we, I mean those who are baby boomers, Gen Xers, those of us who started teaching perhaps some decades ago, and who at first learned how to communicate with this type of technology. What did we learn as we were using this telephone? Let's see. Mayra, you almost got the previous one. Good for that. Right, the new generations are digital natives. Yes, they don't know of a world without the internet. Percy, I agree with you on that. But think about this. What did we learn? Did we learn to be more patient? What about frustration? Think about that. Patience, frustration, being accurate. Think about your own anecdotes, and please share them in the chat box so that the young generations, the emerging generations of teachers that are also here in this multi-generational session, start to understand the glasses that we also wear and how they were developed. Privacy, right. Now, even the language that we had to teach, because it was, hello, may you put me through to, that vocabulary now is old-fashioned just because technology changes and no one needs to say who you want to communicate with or who you are, because everyone knows who is calling unless it is unknown, right? So it's not only about the language that you have to use that has changed, but the skills that were learned through using the technology is what was changed. And the idea is that if we think about the new life skills rehearsal, we see that new skills are being learned, skills that are learned on demand, with others, with delivery, with AI, and with Gen AI. What do I mean with on demand? It is that our students are learning to have what they want when they want. Think about any type of platform which is used to play music, to watch series or movies. Everything is done when it is wanted. Now, if that is the behavior that is being learned, let's think about what that teaches them, what skills they are rehearsing every time they do it. Right. Come to think of it, no wonder they come up to you as a teacher and they want an individual explanation when they are ready, when they want it, and they at times tend to be like quite apathic about the way in which they react to the way in which you want to explain something. Like they couldn't care less. What you feel is that they couldn't care less. And in fact, it is that we have to teach them that on demand is not the way in which whatever you're saying will work. It is good, some things will be on demand, but what they have to learn, and they don't rehearse in life, is this idea of, okay, let's wait for it. We did have to wait to watch the final chapter of, or final episode of that series. But in this case, this is not what happens. Just a little tip, what I do with my students, I always use the chant 3 before me. And at times, depending on whether you can use cell phones or not, you can say 3 before me, the last one must be ChatGPT. So in that way, you're helping them to be independent. They are not dependent on you, and you gain time. Because if you have 20 students, you have to mention or indicate what they have to do at least 15 to 20 times. With others, well, this is interesting because sometimes you say, okay, I want you to work individually. Well, that's a killer phrase because they are used to collaborating in everything, from the images they collect, the artists that they follow, the way in which they prepare any type of collective plan. Everything is done with others, and even the lists of music they play. With delivery, I don't know, I will confess, I didn't know what, or I didn't used to have delivery. When did I learn to use delivery? With my daughters, when they started asking for things to be brought home, and the pandemic increased the phenomenon. Well, with AI, you know, it's the way in which the scaffolding is being provided all the time. And mind you, they were the first ones, the emerging generations, that adopted generative artificial intelligence when we were still thinking that it may pass, right? And at the same time, it's not only that they used it, some of them even informed generative artificial intelligence and were paid for that. And we didn't even know what was coming. So definitely, if you think about what technology is telling them, and you can think about, for instance, a photograph. Photographs taught kids to wait because the process took time. Now, a photograph with a cell phone mixes present and past. No wonder they are anxious, as I can read that they are anxious, impatient, that they need immediate feedback because they learn by trial and error. So what does Mark Prensky say? Well, Mark Prensky, you know, digital natives, I read that in the chat box like a couple of lines before. Yeah, Mark Prensky was the first one who labeled them digital natives and talked about the millennials as digital natives and the Gen Zers as digital natives. And he also talked a little bit about the emerging generations, the new gens and Gen AI. And the great ideas that I want to highlight and share with you is that he really describes the new abilities that we are developing, but that they will have like second nature to them, are these post-biologically evolved capabilities. Like whenever you acquire a new capability, some other capabilities are lost. The moment we learn to eat cooked food, we lost the ability to eat raw food, and if we do, we may become like ill. We may be affected with more diseases. When we learn to use tools, we lost the ability to do it without tools. So again, this is a capability that perhaps may be affecting other capabilities. And the idea is that what Gen AI produces is this marvelous trip from imagination, what they have, and instantiation, which is have it created, which again will increase this idea of immediacy, right? The idea of, well, I want it now. And of course, since this is being influenced by the input that it receives, there is a kind of new evolved collective mind. And this is interesting to see too. Why is it that Gen AI is important? Because it is very much connected to self-regulating and to self-regulation as an ability that very much matches the needs and wants of these generations, Generation Alpha and Generation Z. And I want you to think of self-regulation, and we know that self-regulation is divided into the emotional self-regulation, the one in which you can control your impulses, and the cognitive self-regulation. This is interesting because the part of the prefrontal cortex that is related to the control of all the impulses and the idea of self-regulation is the prefrontal one. And that one is very much developed when we face risks. And here, parents, we as parents and parents in general, have a lot to do. The more that we protect kids, the less risks that they face, the later they will mature. Jean Twenge, in her PhD thesis, talked about she tried to estimate how more immature the youngest generations were, and she concluded that 26 are the new 18. 26 are the new 18. And that they start life, mature life, adult life, feeling totally unprepared for the challenges they have to face, right? So understanding that tells us where we have to focus, how we have to grade our activities, how we have to prepare them, not only from the point of view of language, for instance, but also from the point of view of the attitude to face an exam. When my students have to sit for an entrance examination, for instance, or any examination in which they are measured, I try to replicate every single input they will have to face so that they get accustomed to that. I lower their affective filter, and in that way, I get better results, not because they learn more, but because the emotional aspect is in a way controlled and cared for. Now, again, I have anticipated this idea of 26 are the new 18. And if you come to think of it, of the reality, how many real people do you see there? How many? Right, 2. That's me at the age of 1. Or is it 1? Because this is my older self. No matter what, the way in which I learned the skills needed to survive in society differ greatly from the way in which my students are learning those skills. So I need to work on their emotional side. Let me give you a couple of tips. Okay, good. So 3 people, 1, right. So, okay, ready for some tips? Okay, let me go to this. Yet. Introduce the mantra of yet in the classroom. Since they get easily frustrated and they are risk averse, you need to introduce flexible mindsets vocabulary, like yet. Introduce that. When they come up to you and they say, oh, I don't know how to, I don't remember, you don't remember the punctuation yet. You don't remember the spelling yet. You don't know how to write a story, a simple story, you don't know it yet. And listen to yourselves and listen to your students and get them to see the difference, how empowering using the term yet is. Well, another thing that works wonders with the youngest generations is this possibility of giving them the green light. When they say, okay, can we do it? Try. Give them the green light. Why? Because no matter what you do, remember that your perspective is biased by your generational filters, and that we are rebuilding the theory of education, right? The didactics of ELT. And this is where what you do in the classroom counts. You are the experts because you're facing something absolutely new. And whatever you try and you dare do is what perhaps will give other teachers that hand that they need, will give you chances to succeed in future activities. How much do you agree on this? I want to read you in the chat box. They need to experiment. I can read Carla. Yes, Carla, they need to experiment, but so do we. We need to experiment as well. And I know it's difficult because when you experiment, you are exploring. And when you explore, you feel that you are in uncharted lands. So I know it's tough, but this is a great moment to co-construct learning with your students. Just listen to them. Accept their material. Many times we choose material and they say, okay, can we do it with this one? Give them the green light. Of course, there are some filters that you have to use, but most of the time you will see most of the times that they are right, that they are bringing things to the class that help not only them, the students that are bringing this, but others. Okay, great. Another one, ready for the why. We need critical thinkers. We need people who, more than affirm, make questions about themselves, the world, and why things happen. People that have a query here tattooed, and I do that. I at the beginning of my classes or the school year, I tend to, like, when my students start affirming things, and it's not only that we will be, especially if you're teaching content, this is very easy. But when you think about questions and thinking about the language, it's not just really any question. Any question carries a lot of meaning, and any question is conducive to being critical thinkers, being better citizens, developing an understanding of the world, of others, and what their role is in society. So let's go for the whys. They tend to make statements. Okay, try this exercise to help them develop a flexible mindset, because that will help them do better in their exercises, in their tests, in their answers. Ask them why. And if they can answer that why, ask them to think of another why and to go deeper into that why. Okay, so who threw the bomb? And you give them the possibilities. So why? And when they answer, you continue telling them, okay, let's go deeper into this, a deeper layer of analysis. And there you go from higher order thinking skills to lower order thinking skills. Like, I don't like fruit because they are too sweet. Why? It applies to science. It applies to mathematics. It applies to any action you do in life. Like, okay, let's have this school celebration. Why? Because we have to, but why? Because it has always been, because this is the way in which you change. When you start questioning with 5, well, desirably, up to 5 whys. And last but not least, this one is your saving phrase. When they approach you, when your students approach you with negative ideas, with impossibility, give them this absolute marvelous phrase. Say it positively. Tell me what you can do. Don't tell me what you cannot do. I don't know how to write a story. You don't know how to write it yet. Now tell me, what is it that you know how to write? Can you write an opening sentence? Can you write a description? Do you know what the setting is? Okay, tell me what you know. And in that way, I will be able to give you feedback, formative feedback from where you really are, not from where I think you are or where you think you are not. All right? So tell me what you can do. Right, this is metacognition, and this is how we move on. All right, good. So let's go for the borrowed now. This is borrowed from neuroscience. This generation is visual. What does that mean, really? That vision trumps all other senses, as John Medina says. Okay, good. I spoiled it, but let's see if it works like this. Let's go back to the test. I will say a word, and I want you to think about what comes to your mind. The word will be elephant. Elephant. What comes to your mind when you hear this word? What comes to your mind? The letters or the animal? When I said elephant, did you imagine ELEPH, or did you imagine an animal? White, gray, whatever. Not the white elephant in the room, but maybe this is the white elephant in the room. Right. We need to go more visual, and I have more ideas to give you. Work on, when you don't know how to approach a lesson, prefer storytelling and poetry because they are visual. They are very visual. If you're dealing with a harsh topic and you have the chance of dealing with that topic through storytelling, do it. Give it a twist, because stories are visual. Stories create an image here and liberate the same hormones as the ones that produce joy. So storytelling works the same as poetry. The rhythm works and the pattern works to create a mental image. Today I was working with my students with graphic fonts and lettering. Perhaps we're not dealing with calligraphic style now, but we have a replacement, graphic fonts and lettering for word walls, graphic fonts and letterings for those word banks, wall charts. That is something that will help them learn better and remember spelling. Well, memes and stickers work wonders. From the meme that can develop story, or the story changed into a meme. And then, of course, if we are getting them into reading, the more visual the stories that we choose, the better, until little by little and gradually we start to teach them how to deal with tough pages, right? How many of your students complain when you give them long passages to read? Well, here we are. Mine do. Okay? So sometimes I start to train them with graphic novels and manga, and little by little I increase the difficulty and the number of texts until I get them at least not to protest. Okay, then follow the trends. I don't know if you're familiar with this expedition that was developed by the CONICET scientific organization in Argentina and the Schmidt Ocean Institute, that is a nonprofit. And this is what they discovered. I was not interested in the streaming at all. It was my students who forced me almost to watch the streaming in class. And what I observed as a generational expert was their attitude and the way they were following. It was not out of whim that they wanted to be there. They were curious. And I let them watch the streaming one class, and I exploited this for lots of classes, from creating characters to describing, creating and describing a character. Like, how does it feel to be a star living there? What kind of a character could that be? What is you? Last but not least. And many times I know that you feel like I do with this idea of like having a stamp and saying, oh, again, ChatGPT. There comes a moment when you start to recognize the words that they are using, because you say, oh, this word fusion. ChatGPT, and you cross it out or you say too much ChatGPT. But jokes aside, the problem is that it is not about the cheating that we have to focus on, because it will be an impossible quest. What we have to focus on is the learning. How can we measure learning with ChatGPT? Because we won't be able to control all the variables. At the beginning, we tend to use detectors, but then new AIs were created that humanized ChatGPT. And I don't know if this happens to you, but at times when I write, and it's me writing, I feel that I sound like ChatGPT, and it's not ChatGPT, it's me. So this is the paradox that we are facing. And this is the part where we have to create theory of education. We have to develop new strategies that work for ELT. So think about the learning. How do you measure that? How can you prove that your students are learning? Couple of ideas here. Remember that your students are intoxicated, too much information. It's good to unplug as well. This is interesting because we are talking about what is due, the ethical call, and the UNESCO issued last year, mid-year, this competency framework in which, as you can see, there are different behaviors that are expected. This is like the beginning of, it's a chart, but it could be developed into a rubric. Like, how do we measure and how do we teach ethics? How do kids acquire this? This is a great guide for us if we really want to go into the ethical aspect and how to deal with ChatGPT in a gradual and competency-mediated framework. And this is where you can access it. All right, good. Now let's play a little bit, talking about what kids love, pictures and stories, and they love to create their own stories, to see how stereotypes and biases are affecting us. All right, good. What do you see here? Can I read you in the chat box? What do you see? And you could mentally think about what you see and ask yourselves why. What do you see? You're all invited to collaborate. Well, I'll tell you what my students say. Well, I see a phone. I see a boy using a phone. And the question is, do you really see a boy using the cell phone? Well, he's not talking, they say. But do you see the boy using the cell phone? What makes you think so? What convinces you? Or do you see a boy holding a cell phone in his hands? Right, Ali got it right. Taking a photo. All right. Are you sure that it is that this boy is taking a photo? Can you sure that? The idea is this, working on what kids can observe and what they can infer. We infer that he's taking a photo, and these are my kids, so pardon the way in which the blackboard has been cleaned, but it is important for you to see that these are real things done in a classroom. And different groups with this activity interpreted the image in different ways. And this exercise, as you see me writing there, is great for dealing with exam practice, right? Because this idea of first I concentrate on what I observe and then on what I infer, right? And then come the questions. And above all, my question is, how many of you thought about AI and AI-generated images? And in this case, this is an image generated by ChatGPT following certain prompts. And the interesting thing here is that most of my students would not even question whether it is AI generated. Whereas many of us who wear other filters and understand reality in other ways find difficulty in separating what is AI generated from what is not. And I keep telling my husband that the reels that he is watching most of the time are fakes. Are fake, yeah. Well, so it is here that it's not only about the inversion and the auxiliary that gives us a lot of power, and that gives us a lot of power to transmit to our students. It is some other type of power that I want to transmit to you. Whenever you feel like asking any questions, encourage a flexible mindset. Go for make 2 questions. Give them permission to doubt without exposing them. From this or that, which is good and works, to the additional tell me why. From it's like this to the question mark here and the possibility of saying, okay, what if we analyzed some other way? What if we did it some other way? What if it worked some other way? Add the question mark there, and above all, the greatest question of all, when you go back to this, what convinces you? Because that is what will help you become more critical about what you see. Last set of statistics. This is Common Sense Media sharing a survey with students on the use of the cell phones and AI. 1 out of 3 does not differentiate AI-mediated content from the one which is not. 6 out of 10 feel that companies and providers of different apps and social media will not be caring for them. And 3 out of 4 demand measures from adults and governments helping them separate from their cell phones. And we have a huge task here. Who agrees on this? I hope that the teachers of a foreign language, a second language, or just another additional language, you come to think about the great potential that you have to help your learners understand the world in a different light. So this is me. You can continue this conversation on LinkedIn. I'm there, I wouldn't say 24/7, but sort of. I will read and answer those questions and connect with you that way. This is a little game we could play, but since I want to answer your questions, perhaps you can just get the idea. When I have a presentation of content with so much information as the one I gave you today, I show my students this last slide, this bye-bye slide, for them to try and think what they learned and to recap and revise the ideas that came to your mind. I hope that you're all doing that as you have a look at the images. And then, last but not least, first question that I'm sure you're asking yourselves is, well, does this apply to social classes, gender, life stages, and ethnicity? How does the generational idea interact with life stages? That may be questions that we may answer. Some of the theory I've been reading for the past 20 years or so, and the last 2 books that I recommend, Generation Alpha and The Anxious Generation, to understand your students better. And, well, I think that I'm all ready for your questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Sylvia. This has been a wonderful presentation, really, that rounds up wonderfully our ELT week. A lot in this during this week has been said about artificial intelligence. There were many of the speakers talked about the use of artificial intelligence, generative AI, and this was a great way to end with a note of your expertise. I think that the use of technology is what everybody is talking about. But I think that one of my first comments is that when you were saying that about when you were discussing about blending time-tested methods with innovative practices like now using AI, promoting critical thinking through AI. I think that we mustn't forget that there's always something, let's say, valuable to rescue from every teaching method we have tested through time. I remember, I'll just maybe you can comment on my experience, but when I was back at the university, one of the courses we had to take was history of methodologies and teaching methods and stuff like that. And my point in one of my presentations was that there's no old-fashioned method or strategy. I think that there's a lot that we can rescue from practices that we did in the past and that still work. The fact that we are using artificial intelligence today doesn't mean that has to be our only focus.
Definitely.
There's a lot to rescue.
There's a lot, definitely. And what we have to understand is that the way in which they work, that is why I started to wear my glasses again, the way in which they work, or the reason why they work, may have changed. So they are still valid, but they are still valid for a different reason, right? And perhaps, for instance, there's the repetition. Well, in the past, it was valid because that was understood as the way in which people learned. This generation sees repetition perhaps in your mind first. Okay, repeat the word in your mind 3 times. They see that as a way to avoid mistakes because they are risk averse. They get very nervous and they don't want to make mistakes because they tend to quit if they make mistakes, if they feel that they can't. They don't have the strength, the grit. So on the one hand, we have to work on grit and teach them to be more persistent on what they do. But at the same time, we have to know that what worked in the past may work. And it is many authors concentrate on this idea that it's not only what works, but what works best. Exactly. This is our great quest.
I think there's a question from one of our participants, which is very interesting. He would like to have some tips to encourage the students to improve critical thinking skills now that everyone's using, AI.
Well, it depends on what you want to do. One thing is to use AI to develop your own critical thinking skills. And this is the first prompt that you can give. Okay, help me. This is my statement. This is what I think. Help me become more critical. Ask me questions to start thinking of the situation in a different way. This is the first one. Then the rule of the 5 whys. Then the question, what convinces you? If you start asking your kids what convinces you, you will start getting deeper into their analysis of, and they can do that from very early ages, right? This is the idea. And understanding being critical and being critical thinkers has to do with sharing your understandings with others. So in as far as you scaffold kids or more able peers, scaffold them, then we can really start to develop a critical thinking ability that was a little bit hidden or asleep at the beginning.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we have to end today, but I just wanted to share with you, Sylvia, and the rest of the audience, some gems of the past and how we can weave, as you said, the past and the present. This is a 1960-something book, well, maybe we can say it.
Yes,
it's an old text. This belonged to my mother. This is how she learned English, right? And then back in the 70s, Peru made a very interesting publication. This was the time of the military government. They made an interesting publication about in order to learn English in public schools. And finally, we mustn't forget drilling, in this old drilling, books. We had to drill every sentence 13 times, right?
Absolutely. And how the youngest generations differ from us in the sense that we approached text in a different way because we were confronted with texts all the time. Now, the youngest generation, especially because of all the streaming and because of TikTok and other social media, they tend to be more fluent than we used to be. We used to say that in general, well, it's difficult for us to speak. They can speak very well, but when it comes to writing, they seem to fall behind. Again, the youngest generations, their skills, their abilities, and what makes them different from us. It's no generation is better or worse. It's just a question of understanding where they are standing and helping them develop from where they are.
Exactly, Sylvia. I totally agree with you. Thank you so very much. This has been a fantastic way to round up ELT Week Peru 2026. We have reached the end of our event. And now let's talk about something that is very important to some of you, which is about certificate. In a few minutes, we will show you a link to a final survey. Okay, this is our final survey and our collection tool in order to generate certificates. Okay, so please look at the QR code on the screen and you will access a survey. Please, your feedback is very important. This is the feedback for all the events and each of the sessions that you have viewed during the week. Please remember that your details are very important in order to generate your certificate. Make sure that you write your details very carefully. So complete this form. It will be open until the 22nd of March. That's Sunday 22nd. From now to Sunday 22nd, you will be able to complete the survey. If you haven't, if you missed any of the sessions, remember all the recordings are published in our YouTube channel. That's British Council Peru in YouTube. If you missed any of the sessions, you can watch the videos and then complete the survey so that you can get your certificate. So from all of us at the British Council, it's been a great pleasure to be here all this week. Please always keep an eye on our social media channels so that you can keep participating in this type of enriching events. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful end of the week. Have a wonderful Friday and a great weekend. See you next time.